Hey folks, and welcome back. We are going to be talking about ionic compound names today. Last time we talked about how do we write ionic compound formulas. Today we're going to talk about how do we actually go about naming those ionic compounds. Just as a quick refresher, remember that ionic compounds are formed when a metal gives electrons to a nonmetal. That is going to form an ionic bond. And the way that ionic bond forms is that the electrons, when they are transferred, create a positive and a negative ion, and those are going to be attracted to each other. Now, naming ionic formulas is a lot easier than it is to just write the formula itself. So hopefully we will be able to knock this out pretty quickly. So when we are naming an ionic formula, the first thing we have to do is to figure out which is the metal and which is the non-metal. So in our example here, we have Ba and O. And so we got to go to our periodic table, and Ba is over here on the left-hand side of the screen. And then O, oxygen, is over here on the right-hand side of the screen. And so here's our staircase, right? And so Ba is our metal, and then which is barium, and then O is oxygen, that is our nonmetal. Barium over here to the left, oxygen over here to the right. So what we need to do now is to write the metal name first, followed by the nonmetal. So let's come in here and let's write in the metal name first. So that is barium. All right, and then we are going to write the nonmetal second. Now I'll go ahead and let you on a little secret. That's exactly the way that they're shown in the formula. So in the formula, you're always going to see the metal first and the non-metal second. So you can really just write them the way that you see them in the formula. All right. The next thing we need to do is we need to change the ending of the metal to IDE. If you'll remember from when we were writing formulas, all of the names that we were using, they all had that IDE ending. And figuring out exactly where the IDE ending goes is something that you just kind of have to get as you practice. You should have some of that practice from having read a lot of the names on the last exercise. But basically, we don't change the first one. So again, this was steps 1 and 2 right here. So 1 and 2 was this first one. Here is step 3. We got to change the ending for the nonmetal. So we leave the metal alone. So that's still barium. And then we need to change this to an IDE ending. And usually this is going to happen before some vowel. So in this case, it's going to become oxide. So there's our IDE ending. And there's our answer, right? Barium oxide, that is BaO, barium oxide. All right, so let's take a look at another example here. Oops, if I could get there we go. All right, there we go, clear them all. Okay, so here's some examples. We have MgBr2 and Na2S. So Mg, look on your periodic table, that is magnesium. And then Br is bromine. But again, we need to change that IDE ending. So this is going to become magnesium bromide. So that one's a little bit easier to figure out, right? You're just kind of changing it right there at the end. Remember, the reason why we are adding in the IDE endings is that is telling us that we have a compound. It's not just bromine just by itself hanging out. This is magnesium bromide. It's a compound. Okay, our next example. Na is sodium, and S is sulfur. All right, so again, we need to change this ending to IDE. So we have sodium. In this case, it's going to become sulfide. All right, so it's pretty straightforward, pretty easy. You really just need to look on your periodic table, figure out the names of the elements that are involved, and then go about changing the ending of the non-metal to IDE. Okay. Now, you also in your practice today have a little bit more practice with formulas. Make sure that you we're practicing that as well, because writing those formulas is definitely the trickier part. Okay. If you have questions or need help, please reach out, and I look forward to seeing you soon.